How's it going, everybody? Hope everyone's having a fantastic day, and you know what time it is. I invite you to pull up a chair, sit back, and relax, and welcome you to Season 2, Episode 18 of the SPMA Council Podcast. As we're recording this, it is a beautiful but brisk day up in St. Catharines, Ontario. I hope the weather is a little more kind to you wherever you're listening to this episode, whether it be the St. Catharines Thorold area, somewhere Ontario, Canada, the U.S., the world. You get the whole deal. Joining us now for the second time, he's now a podcast veteran, is from SPMA Council's events team, Edmonton's own Mason Boruch. How you feeling, especially considering these guys were able to play well against your Oilers, who are a pretty good club?
You know what? I appreciate the pump up there, Will. I love being on the podcast. I love being a host. It's nice to just talk about just literally anything. I think in the intro of the meeting that we did with Josh, we talked about the weather too, and how, here in St. Catharines, it's nice and warm considering where I'm from in Edmonton, where it's like a polar vortex this time of year. But in terms of the Leafs, I got to give it to them. They really shut down the Oilers, and I can't really complain all too much when, especially when Connor McDavid goes in the interview and said, they really figured us out defensively. And you know what? Like, I think the Oilers were, in for a wake-up call after going 12-2 in the last 14. So I think it's awesome to see that the Edmonton Oilers have been doing so well. But I think at the same time, you got to put respect in the Leafs name and see that, because they were playing in a tough Atlantic division the last few years, they're going to be a tough team to play in this North Division, where they're definitely the favorites to finish first and potentially move on to the Final Four.
Oh yeah, definitely. That North Division has been an exciting one. Even though the Leafs are in first, there hasn't been many blowouts. Every game almost feels like a playoff game. But moving on to our podcast guest, we had Josh Belkoff on, who is the Vice President of Business Development and College Partnerships at theClubhouse and Vice President of Business Development at Sports Business Solutions. Before I get your thoughts on the episode, I first want to thank Jaya. She is one of the sales and marketing directors on SPMA Council. She set this up. So big shout out to her for giving us this connection that allows access to a really great interview. Mason, what did you think of the episode?
It was awesome. Hearing from a definitely professional down in the Arizona area was interesting. He used a lot of, especially when he talked about his role with the Phoenix Suns, which we'll get into. Don't want to allude too much to it. The impact of tourism and the impact of just competing with different sources of entertainment and leisure is definitely an interesting role to his role in the Phoenix Suns. I won't go dive in too much there, but he had a lot of great insight, especially, his importance with the sports business solution in the clubhouse, of how networking can really be such a key role in just, learning about people's environments. He also made mention about, when he was a director, when he was in a beginning management role with the Phoenix Suns, and the importance of having individual an individualized approach to the managing a team rather than having a very general one. So overall, I thought the episode was really well. We had a lot of fun with Josh, and I don't know, what were your thoughts, Will?
Yeah. Like fair play to Josh for coming on the show, taking his time out of his day. And I mean, as he sort of alluded to in the episode, guy's a jack of all trades. Not the first time we've had that in the podcast. But just a great guy to talk to. Great to share, how he found his niche in the sports industry, how he's evolved throughout his career. And just the great thing that stood out to me was his giving back philosophy that's been demonstrated with his time at the clubhouse.
Yeah, for sure. And you know what? Like, at the end of the day, if any of the SPMA students are looking out there, they've seen the clubhouse on the LinkedIn.
Clubhouse, solid resource.
Oh yeah, solid resource. And if you're looking to get involved, you can message either, Josh, or a lot of the mentors are actually, they can be interconnected with some of the SPMA alumni and some of our previous events that we've had, especially the speaker series. So if you want to go ahead and message them, especially Josh at the end, he says that feel free to reach out to him and ask about the clubhouse. I would 100%, recommend that you guys get involved with it, because it's a great resource for connecting with professionals and also helping to guide you where you want to go in the sports industry.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. You summed it up perfectly there, Mason. So, I mean, before we go on to our interview with Josh, any final thoughts before we get going here?
No, I would say sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. There's lots of fun little moments there, and I think you guys are in for a real treat with Josh Belkoff on the show today.
100%, 100%. And without further ado, let's send to season 2, episode 18's guest, Josh Belkoff from the Clubhouse and Sports Business Solutions. Enjoy, folks. All right, for episode 18 of the SPMA Council podcast, we have a very distinguished guest on the show today. He is the Vice President of Business Development and College Partnerships at the Clubhouse. He is also the Vice President of Business Development at Sport Business Solutions. Coming to us all the way from the great state of Arizona, please welcome Josh Belkoff to the show. How's it going?
Thanks for having me, Mason. It's good to. I really appreciate the opportunity. It's going well. We've got sunny skies here in Arizona, which, I mean, if you're a betting person, it's usually 9 out of 10 days that it would be sunny. So things are good. How's it up in the north?
It's pretty chilly. It's clocking in. Last time I checked, it's a crisp -5. I don't really mind the winter weather. So it's all right. But those who are sticklers to the cold, it can be a little chilly. Although this might seem like a summer vacation weather for you, Mason, considering you're from Edmonton.
Yeah, it's crazy. I was talking with my family the other day, and they just got out of their winter vortex, which was upwards to -30, -40 in some days. So, I'm walking around in shorts and a t-shirt, and everyone's like, "What the hell are you doing?" And I'm just enjoying the nice weather here in down in St. Catharines. So I'm loving
patio drinks or something, right?
Exactly, right. When restaurants are open, I'm gonna be asking you sitting in the patio when there's snow on the ground, right?
I'm from the East Coast. I'm sure we'll get into it, but I'm from the East Coast, and I had a snowfall during the holidays, and it takes you back to your roots, that's for sure.
Definitely.
And you know what? Last year, this is my second year here in St. Catharines. Last year, there wasn't as much snow in the region. So when this year we got dumped on a few weeks ago with probably 3-4 feet of snow, and it just reminds me of back home. Even it was even kind of cold too, and it was kind of nice to just kind of be back in your roots and being in an environment where it reminds you of home.
Yeah, definitely. So to start off the show, this is sort of the de facto first word of the SPMA Council podcast. Josh, what makes your story unique?
Yeah. I again appreciate you guys having me on. I guess I'll give you a background on myself, and so I'm from the Philly area. I went to college at University of Arizona for undergrad, and honestly, I didn't know a soul when I went down there. So I guess when you talk about uniqueness to first start, a lot of people were like, "Why are you going to University of Arizona?" Like, my uncle lived down there. I was able to be close to family, but get away from the bubble of Northeast, New York, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, nothing against it. I just wanted to try something new. I had a great experience in high school. I was in leadership roles in high school I had a lot of great friends, but for me, I wanted to try and challenge myself in a different way. And so went to U of A, started out originally as a poli-sci major. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I basically told myself I wanted to get into entertainment law. And I might be dating myself, but I basically told myself I wanted to be Ari Gold from Entourage. So I wanted to figure out however I can get into that position or role, opportunity wise, which basically meant, now that I think about it long term, is I had no idea what I wanted to do. And so throughout my time in school, I guess, like, talking about being unique, I took my first sports business class my junior year of college, and a light bulb went off in my head, and I realized I needed to work in business management in the sports world. And so had a couple of internships throughout my time. I switched my major during that time period as well, and got an opportunity to work with University of Arizona Athletics in their undergraduate Wildcat Club, which was fundraising and development. And that's when I really fell in love with the business side, and working with a lot of sponsors, and working with a lot of donors and events. Fast forward, I started my career with the Phoenix organization. And I guess, like, what makes my story unique is that when I was applying to these jobs and these roles, like, while our sports business program at U of A was good, it was emerging, we were growing, we were still pretty unknown. And so for me, I didn't know about these hiring, career fairs, all these things existed. And so I guess, like, from a unique standpoint, I guess I got lucky where I ended up, because the Suns organization is one of the best sales training development programs in sports, and working in sales, like, that was exactly where I ended up where I needed to be. And there's a lot of great programs out there, but I guess from a uniqueness, I honestly just went guns blazing YOLO, trying to figure out my way and my path, with different internships. I was like, if I had a free day where I could volunteer somewhere, I would do it. And I would just go in if I didn't have class, or I didn't have homework, or I didn't have school. I was lucky to have that opportunity to, intern or volunteer, and do whatever I could to get noticed or get that experience. And then, like, I just ended up getting really lucky to find the team and the organization that was right for me. If I'm thinking about it, like, looking back, I probably would have done my homework a little bit more in terms of knowing what I was getting into from, like, each internship or role. But I think part of the fun of it was also just saying, like, I'm in, like, or going full bore with no hesitation. In some standpoint, sometimes the best decisions that we make are the ones where we just don't think about it, we just go. And so that probably is the uniqueness side of it. Did I answer your question, Will?
Yeah, it does, definitely. I mean, there's a lot of there's a lot of people, a lot of students. If I'm talking to it's all you Brock SPMA students out there. There are times where you maybe don't know what you want to do, but when there's an opportunity that comes up, there are some where you just go head first, and you just go into it. And things obviously have to happen. You obviously have to have a couple of lucky bounces, because that is the nature of the beast. But combine that with a good will to succeed, and the trends will say that that opportunities, some that you may not expect at some stages, will find you eventually.
Yeah, and no question. I remember going back to U of A my junior year, and my parents telling me, because I was just, I had a couple internships that were out of sport in the poli-sci world, and while they were interesting, like, they weren't what I really wanted to do. And I remember saying, like, I wasn't really happy with the direction I was really headed from that standpoint. I needed to find what I was really passionate about. I remember my parents saying, like, well, college isn't like Baskin Robbins. You can't just decide on all 31 flavors all the time, and you got to figure out something. And so that's where, taking that sports business class was really a aha moment for me. And I remember it like it was yesterday. It was like January 11th or whatever that Monday was, the second week of January, and it was 2009, 2010 at this point. And it was just, it was a light bulb moment. And and it's great when those things happen. And then, you know, you have to get lucky sometimes in figuring out and who the right person is to connect with. So yeah, I guess that's the uniqueness on my story.
So to start off your career in the industry, you mentioned that you studied at the University of Arizona, and then you capped off with a sales and marketing internship for the MLS's Desert Diamond Cup. How did those experiences shape your desired niche that you wanted to go into sport business?
Yeah, it's a good question, Mason. I think I was very lucky to have opportunities throughout my college career, especially for as late as I wanted to get into sports business. My junior year, I just really made it an effort to get involved as much as I could. And that internship with Desert Diamond Cup with the MLS and FC Tucson, which was like was the minor league team that was running the tournament essentially. That program, and then the U of A athletics under Wildcat Club, like those two like really made me realize what I wanted to do, because I went to the MLS Desert Diamond Cup. It initially started out as a class project. And actually, funny enough, I was just talking to the professor earlier today with his class, you know, years later, the class that he has now, talking about, yeah, literally like 15, I'm not kidding, like 15 minutes ago, I was on this Zoom with the class, and we were talking about the Desert Diamond Cup and the FC Tucson. And I remember it was originally started out as a class project, which was really cool. Like the professor, like always did these experiential semester long projects or like internships in a way. So there was a lot of cool internships out there. You could work with the rec center and how you wanted to build their brand. You could work with the Phoenix Suns and selling tickets and selling experiences. FC Tucson was there with MLS and the Desert Diamond Cup. And I chose the MLS one because it was run through FC Tucson, which is their minor league soccer team. And at the time, they were in their second year of existence and second year of the Desert Diamond Cup. And so I figured that, like, while the NBA would have been cool, it was, of course, like the NBA was #1 project. Like, people wanted to get into that. And it's funny enough, because years later I ended up at the Suns. But I always knew, like, I was like, that'll be fun, but I feel like they probably have a system in place that it's very, very like regimented on like what you do. Whereas at FC Tucson, you can it's a startup. So you can kind of do a bunch of things and figure out what you want to do. And at that point, I wanted to figure out what I wanted to do. And also, more importantly, what you don't want to do too. And so from there, I got an opportunity to really, as like from the class project perspective, do everything like from sales and marketing, sponsorships, guest services. We were like liaisons for some of the teams and the organizations that were out there. We were in operations. Like, I'm not a big soccer person, like on the, like in terms of following, like, now I'm more than I am more now. But back then, I just liked the internship. I thought it was cool. And I'll be honest, like when we were doing operations stuff, they'd be like, hey, can you put the corner flag in? I'm like, sure. And I walk up to like the corner of the soccer field. I'm like looking on my phone, where does the corner kick flag go? Because you're with a bunch of soccer fans, soccer heads. They are like very, very passionate. But the people that were part of that project, because I was looking at it from a business perspective, there was a lot of people in that project that were looking at it from like, I'm a soccer fan. And so I'm like, all right, I'm just trying to like figure stuff out. And I put it in, it was good. But long story short, it really taught me that I liked sales and business development, because I loved working with the sponsors. I loved working with the VIP area and working with people that were spending a decent amount of money to come out to an event. While the operation stuff was really cool, like to be a part of and being a liaison, like working with the teams, just wasn't what I like was passionate about. I liked filling the stadium. I liked the business end and working with partners. And so, I did that for my senior year, along with the U of A internship, and revenue was the way I wanted to go. But it's a lot of fun, and it's great to see like they continue to grow. FC Tucson is like partnered with Phoenix Rising FC, which is up here in Phoenix. They go hand in hand, and so it's a lot of fun when you can connect back with those people that were in that project. Actually, a lot of the people that were in that initial group, like that I was with, they're all like doing big things in the industry too. So like you learn a lot in those startup and minor league environments. You can essentially, you're doing those jobs, and because there's not like some big hierarchy role, like or in terms of like, there's not layers to the organization as much as you think. Like I was an intern and I got a walkie-talkie. I was talking to Desert Diamond about their seats in their suite. Like I was a college student, an intern. Like I shouldn't have been doing like at an NBA team. I probably wasn't doing that, you know? So it was a lot of fun though. No question.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I mean, with a minor league team, you're able to have that flexibility to sort of spread your wings, do all this unique stuff because they can't really depend on a fixed number of people to attend to at least attend their games rather than a big professional team. And like you said, it allows you to discover what you like, what you don't like, but the hidden benefit is again find those connections along the way, and it's even better to see those connections doing well in the industry. But moving on to the spectrum we sort of touched on, which is the professional sphere. You worked for the Suns for a good number of years in business development and premium sales. Considering the competition surrounding the Suns in terms of sports options such as the MLB, the NFL, and the NCAA, did you have to employ any different strategies to effectively sell the Suns brand to consumers?
Yeah. Will, it's interesting, right? Like we're one of those cities that, I mean, we've got all the food groups essentially at this point. We've got outside of an MLS team, which, knock on wood, one day that'd be awesome. We've got we've got great college programs in GCU, ASU, as much as it pains me to say that because I'm a U of A guy. Well, I have a lot of good friends that are at ASU. They do a fantastic job. The Sun, the MLB Diamondbacks, the NHL with the Coyotes, and the Cardinals in the NFL. Like we have everything. Plus, like we're a destination city in terms of we're not just dealing with. And we talked a lot about this when we were at the Suns, and we still talk a lot about this with my friends that are there at the organization. Like I love like the people there. We're not just competing with the teams, for instance. We compete with Top Golf. We compete with casinos. We compete with the outdoors. We compete because we're in a nice city. Like it's a good weather city. We compete with restaurants. We compete in a lot of ways. It's a very saturated market. And so how we differentiated ourselves is that we focus a lot on the process and execution of how we run meetings and how we run appointments. And we really, really dive in from a training perspective at the Suns organization and how we execute meetings, have conversations, set up conversations and meetings for the future. And, we were really blessed there because we had some of the best tools necessary to differentiate ourselves. And we were able to focus in on rapport and relationship building a lot of times with our individual clients, especially as you got into the more premium spaces. So if you were if you knew that your client was a big golfer, we had opportunities to go golfing with at a great course that we worked with as a partnership side and angle. And so what's cool about the Suns organization is that everyone opportunity was looked at as a revenue partnership in some way. And so, we could utilize our programs and whatever we did. We always had some sort of opportunity or connection to connect with our partners or our stakeholders in some way to make it more unique. And so we're a membership platform, which there's other teams that are membership platforms too, but we really fine-tuned it where people would dive into a membership with us and they could go into a different vertical. Like we had business memberships. So they were getting experiences that were for the business stakeholder. We had ones that were fandom stakeholders. And so, people that are big fans of the team, we would have events geared towards them. People that were just social fans, people that were just wanted to have them from a networking standpoint. We had events geared towards that. And we also had family plans too, in terms of like, they would buy the seats or the membership or that experience. And that was they would have that prime real estate. But the best part is that was a 365-day year engagement that not only are they getting the seats to the game, but they're also getting events and activities that are geared towards their interests as well. And so, like, for instance, a meet and greet with the team, with half the team at a, in our locker room might be, that's a cool experience in itself, but that might be more like the fandom group and the family that loves that. Whereas like a business owner might want to have dinner on the court with other business owners and our president of the team and owner talking about business and talking about how they're growing their footprint in the place. But that might, to a fan, might not be a fun experience. But we intertwined them a lot. It was really cool. It's really cool. And it's only developed even more now as they've grown their forms a bit even more in the last couple of years with their renovation. But that's how we differentiated ourselves a lot. And the customer experience, right? Like, not saying everyone's customer experience is not as good. Like, everyone's customer experience is different. It's good, but we had to really over deliver on things especially when I was there, like, because when you don't have the team to kind of hide your experience, like, the Suns, I don't know if you know this, but the Suns, I started Canada, I started a month to the day before Steve Nash got traded. So when I was with the team for 5.5 years, we didn't have that face of the franchise. Like, we were just in my second half of my tenure there. Devin Booker started to emerge, but it's not the team right now that's like second in the NBA, and they're doing fantastic. But it was a lot of, you gotta really focus on your process and learn more about them. Like, we have 2 ears and one mouth for a reason, right? So we want to be able to listen actively and make the right recommendation, which was our differentiation.
It's interesting that you mentioned the impact of tourism, especially with Arizona being such a nice city. Whenever I think Arizona, I can just think of the golf courses. So especially you mentioned, how important to have those partnerships, especially with other organizations, in order to share kind of revenue streams and processes. Definitely an important factor in business development. Your current role with the Sports Business Solution is a training, a coaching, consulting service for a sales professional, including those in sport. What's the strategy that you can take effectively to develop those people, or does it depend on the unique needs of each person?
Yeah, it's a good question. So, like, we have over 150, 160 partners on the team side now that we work with, and collegiate, all the pro sides, and minor leagues, major leagues, NASCAR, WNBA. We have a ton. We work with the Canadian Elite Basketball League up there in Canada, and I've worked with OSEG, so Ottawa Sports and Entertainment Group.
Yep. That's a good group. We've actually had a member of that organization on the podcast back in season 1.
Oh, nice. Who was on it?
The guy's name is Matthew Bennett. He's in corporate partnerships there.
Oh, cool. Nice. Yeah, they're fantastic people over there. And you guys, there's great programs in the area. But for us, we are from SBS, like, for what I do, we're very consultative on how we approach each team or each group. It's all based around what they're looking for. For instance, like a minor league team in the middle of the South, they might have very different goals than a team in New York City that's in the major leagues or in the NFL, right? So, like, every team and every group is extremely different. Some groups have, their arenas or their amenities are, are a little more seasoned, as I like to say. So they might be a little older in terms of their amenities, and they might not be that new sleek building. Whereas like another one of our partners, I worked with their new stadium sales team last year, and it was selling the new ballpark, and I mean literally the bells and whistles on it. So everyone's a little different. And then on the clubhouse side, and what we do from an SBS side, every student or every person that I connect with, it's very different in where they're looking for their career, right? So like everyone is very different in some ways, and they have different lives and different upbringings, or they have different areas that they want to focus in on, or locations. And you try to tackle it a little bit differently with everyone, because that when I was a manager at the Phoenix Suns, my first year as a entry-level sales manager, I tried to manage everyone the same way, like in terms of like how I liked to be how I would manage, or like what I thought was good. And I realized like that was wrong, and that was not the right way. And then you learn everyone's different. Everyone has different passions. Everyone has different thoughts. And so, I changed my approach. That's when I really think that like I was able to be impactful as a leader, and hopefully continue to, at least I hope. And so that's where you really focus in on is that person to person development. Some people will say it takes a lot, longer to do that, but, or it's more work on our hands, but I love what I do. So like why shortcut it? Like we tell people not to shortcut the process all the time. Why am I shortcutting my, like our conversations or what we do? Like, I build my presentations pretty much from scratch all the time. And when I have questions, it's all through scratch, because I'm getting to know the person more than them. And that's the same way I did it from a business development standpoint when I was selling things at the Suns. A company that has 300 people, their goals are a little different than the 10-person business, or the 30-person dance studio, or the family of 5 that wants to come to a game.
Yeah, definitely, and it's great that you've adopted an individualized approach to both entities. Not only does it benefit those who you are working with, because it just generally shows that you care about their needs and what makes them tick, but it also benefits you as well, with getting to know more about the person, trying to find a concrete thing or things to focus on. And when you boil it down to what people are looking for in terms of ROI, that can be a big difference maker down the road when you're working through all these connections. And building off those the last question, specifically with your role with the clubhouse, like you said, it's formed the basis of connecting aspiring sport professionals with others, sort of similar to SBS. What motivates you to execute this giving back philosophy?
Yeah, I mean, I've always been a person that likes to help people and like connect the dots, and help almost be a GPS and help direct them to where they want to get to, as they're driving the boat or driving the ship in that way. But I love seeing people get roles or get sales or get opportunities almost more than I like was seeing my own successes sometimes. That's why I got into leadership, and that's why a lot of people get into leadership. I have some incredible leaders and mentors that I am friends with, that are huge mentors of mine, that are really close in the industry standpoint. It's a small industry, but for me, like the clubhouse, what was really cool is that when we created it back a couple of years ago, what was enticing about leaving the Suns, like, because at the time, like, it was very hard to leave the Suns for me, because I was so happy there. But my old boss at the Suns, who started SBS in the clubhouse, he approached me about joining his team, and I realized over time, like it was a no-brainer to join and work with him again, and get a chance to work in this world a bit. And so when we were talking about the clubhouse, that was a big reason why, or what would eventually become the clubhouse was what I, want to do and give back and help the next race. When I was applying to the roles, I got very lucky that I got into the opportunity. But I talked to a lot of students, even when I was interviewing people for the Suns for my teams, they just didn't have the, they're not getting some schools prepare people better than others, and others, like, it might not be as entrenched. And so I wanted a community that has a lot of content and opportunities for aspiring professionals and people in the industry too, to really learn and network and connect with others, and share blogs and articles, and get a chance to connect with people in the industry. And that's what we really focused in on. That's why I enjoy, like, the giving back. And the best texts or calls I get are when someone goes, "Hey, I got a job here," or "I'm getting promoted," or "I'm growing." And that's a lot of fun to hear that stuff. And so we're continuing to build it, and it's grown a lot since the start of 2020. The pandemic has definitely been impacted negatively, the sports industry, but I think now it's starting to come back. But from a Clubhouse perspective, it's been a lot more positive, because people have now seen our content a bit more, and we also had more time to focus in on it while we've been more remote, instead of being on the road, traveling, where we're not working in person as much right now. So we're able to focus and hone in and build out the functionalities a bit.
And I think from the student's perspective, knowing what I know about the Clubhouse, it's a great tool for students just to connect with industry professionals, even if they're not in a program that's sport related.
100%.
Like, I remember, I think I connected with one of the mentors in the Clubhouse, Jared Ginsburg, in my first year of sport management. I didn't really know what I wanted to do in the sport industry, and he's been helping me guide how to get to where I want to be, and using the different, you use the analogy of a basket, right? What are you doing to fill your basket in the sport industry? So, with this and all the mentors that are a part of the Clubhouse, it's a great group for a lot of people to just get involved with the sport industry, and just seeing what you want to do, and see if there's anyone that can help you get in your way, like you said yourself. So you mentioned, like, the pandemic and how it's taken a toll, and how it's helped with the Clubhouse, especially with the exposure. Looking back over this past year, as furthest it's been as usual, what has served as your purpose that keeps you positive or mentally healthy in an uncertain environment?
Yeah, I mean, I think, look, when the pandemic when it first happened, you almost have to reset yourself in some ways, because we're so much go all the time. Like, we're always in, like, I feel like we're always in our phones, or we're in social media, or with our friends, and, like, we had to reset, right? Like, or you're working, or whatever you're in. So I think the first, like, month or two, everyone got hit in the mouth, right? Like, from the whole world. But as you were coming out of it, you kind of adjusted what was important to you. And when I first started when the pandemic first happened, I was with a team. I was in Delaware. Very, like, coincidentally, I guess luckily, it was close to my home, and I'd always planned to be back home for a couple of weeks with my family, because we had a couple of, like, personal, like, family friend weddings and stuff, and I hadn't been, and I had planned to be there for a few weeks. Who would have known? I ended up staying there through the summer, right? Like, during the pandemic, I stayed back east with my family, with friends, and yeah, I realized, like, family, like, purpose for sure. Like, family is really important. Being close to your family, and those people will never let you down, or never abandon you from that standpoint. So I think family is a big purpose, but also I think, like, the continuing to have some impact on the sports business industry is something that's really important to me, and impacting as many people as possible. And so, in being able to focus in on the Clubhouse a little bit more, and focus in on our day-to-days and just our processes, it's been really good from a purpose standpoint. And then mentally, of course, like, I try to, for me, I think I've gotten routine down in terms of, I wasn't reading nearly enough when I was in pre-pandemic, and now since then, like, I try to, start my day with 20 minutes of reading, and I try to get a workout in, and and I think that stuff's important. It keeps you mentally sharp, especially as the weeks go on. You gotta realize too, like, especially with what's going on in the world, you got to do the best you can to keep yourself balanced from that standpoint. I think that's important. I love what I do. Like I could work 24 hours a day. Like I really do enjoy what I do, but you got to have that few moments that you reset and relax yourself, because and realize that there's like what you're working for is important, because there's other factors out there. Like when I was new into the industry, I didn't really focus in on those that much, to be completely honest. And now like I've realized as you get older what's important and all that good stuff. And that's definitely, it's been even more impactful with the pandemic. And then, hopefully every day that goes by, there's more people getting the vaccine. There's more people getting inoculated. It's a word that I've now learned from the news in regards to the vaccine. So it's awesome. I can't, it's shouldn't be a political thing, right? It should just be hopefully we, us as a society, we get quicker and quicker every day. We get closer to that next chapter, or that chapter back to, what we know and all that great stuff. And I think we're going to have a renaissance from a sports perspective. People are going to love coming out to events. I think that like people, I hopefully knock on wood, but people are there's going to be people that never would have been interested to go to a game before. And now like when they're ready, like they're going to want to go, because there's going to be new people that are going to want to touch our brands and come out and experience stuff because they couldn't do it before. And we're not going to take that for granted anymore. And it's really, really coincidental, because before the pandemic, I remember it was like February, and I was telling my friend, we were watching sports. I'm like, thank God we got sports every night. Like there's always something on. And then little did I know, we'd go 5 months without sport. And it was crazy when the pandemic first started. Once sports kind of like went away, like I didn't watch ESPN for like months. Like I just literally was just, there's nothing to watch. Like I'm just going to focus on me and focus on how I can control. And, we've gotten through a year, which is crazy, and hopefully the light's at the end of the tunnel.
Definitely. I'm actually going to reference back to one of the episodes that we did back in season 1. It was episode 7 or 8, and we had an alumni of the Brock Sport Management program on, Evan Gwartz, who works in the coordinator and who's a coordinator for of client services and premium suites for the Toronto Blue Jays. And one of the quotes that he said, although I may not be quoting it directly, is what gives your life purpose. And I think that everyone's purpose is unique, but it's so vital now just to keep your life interesting at the bare minimum. Because if you can find that, whether it's listening to this podcast, this may be a little biased, but we'll let it slide for now. Whether it's reading, whether it's working out, whether it's whether it's just getting outside and just walking away from your workspace, which our homes have sort of transformed into, whatever works for you and gives you purpose. That's what keeps people going, keeps people mentally sharp, especially since everyone's mental health continues to be a major topic of conversation, and unfortunately an issue for a lot of people. So that's unbelievably crucial. And as we bring the show to the close, and again, Josh, I want to thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to be on the show. As we do with every show, we like to give the guest the floor to say what's on their mind, or maybe update the listeners of what's going on with your life, or maybe you can just take it as an excuse to shoot the breeze a little while longer. So, Josh, thanks again, and the floor is yours.
Yeah. Well, if you're listening to this, like obviously you're putting yourself and your career at the forefront, and you guys do a great job. And so I think really, really hone in on like figuring out what your why is, why you want to work in the sports business industry, especially right now, right? Like with the way the world is and the pandemic, if you're still passionate about that, this is the place for you. There's going to be opportunities as things come out from under this over the coming months, but just be patient. Like we're a society and we're generations that we've grown up with technology. We've grown up with things so close to our fingertips that you could just get instant results or instant gratification, or you can buy something. If I didn't want to go to the grocery store, I could just Amazon everything, right? Like you can literally do whatever you want from your phone. You can put your credit cards on there. But sometimes in our industry or what we're doing right now, we got to have patience. And I know it's really tough because we're the Instagram, Snapchat technology generation, but we got to be patient as the industry comes back, and go for the things that are your passions ultimately, not what you think or what someone tells you to do. Do what you want to do. But check our website out, clubhouse.sportsbusiness.solutions. Sign up for a profile, reach out to me if I can help in any way. Shoot me a message on LinkedIn. We're here in any way. And we're just looking to grow the sports business space. So I appreciate the time and the connection. It's always good to connect with our neighbors, as I like to say.
For sure. Josh, once again, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thanks again, mate.
Thank you, guys.